What courage looks like. Now I must show them I learned. The attack began at dawn, ship time. The fleet split into 3 groups, each targeting one of the base's exit points. The raiders were caught completely off guard. They had never faced a coordinated assault before, and their usual tactics of intimidation didn't work against determined opponents fighting for justice. While the main battle raged outside, Kira and a small team of volunteers used a captured raider shuttle to slip through the chaos. Jiho wanted to go with her, but his duty was commanding the fleet. Instead, he sent Hyun and 2 other skilled fighters. "Stay close to her," he ordered, over their private channel. "She's the bravest person on this mission, but she's also the most fragile." Getting inside the base was terrifying. The asteroid tunnels were like a maze, full of automated defenses and confused raiders running to battle stations. But Kira moved through them like she had studied the blueprints her whole life. "Left here," she whispered, leading them through a maintenance shaft. "The control room is just ahead." The room was guarded by 6 raiders, but they were focused on the battle outside. Hyun and his team took them down quickly and quietly. Kira rushed to the main computer, her fingers flying over controls that looked nothing like human technology. "Almost got it," she said, sweat beading on her blue forehead despite the cold. "Just need to bypass their security protocols." Outside, the fleet was taking heavy damage from the base's weapons. Ships were reporting hull breaches and failing shields. They needed those defenses down soon, or the rescue mission would become a disaster. Then suddenly the asteroid base went dark. Every weapon platform shut down. Every shield generator died. The raiders' impregnable fortress became a defenseless rock floating in space. "Defenses are down," Kira's voice came through the radio, filled with exhausted triumph. "All prisoners are being released from their cells. They're free." The cheers from the fleet could be heard across all communication channels. 3 weeks after the battle, the rescued prisoners had been returned to their homeworlds or taken to safe colonies. The raider network was completely destroyed, their ships captured or destroyed, their leaders facing justice across multiple star systems. It was the biggest victory against organized crime in the galaxy's recent history. Kira stood in the observation deck of a space station, watching ships come and go through the large windows. Her reflection showed a very different person than the frightened, freezing girl they had found in that escape pod. She looked stronger now, more confident, but also thoughtful in a way that showed how much she had learned. "The refugee transport will be here in an hour," Jiho said, joining her at the window. "The colony ship Harmony is heading to the Kepler 438 system. Good planets there, perfect temperature for your people." Kira nodded but didn't turn away from the window. 47 other Theraki survivors will be on that ship. We will build a new community together, try to preserve what we can of our culture. "That sounds wonderful," Jiho said, though his voice carried a note of sadness. "You'll have a real home again." "Yes," Kira said quietly. "A home with my own people, where I will be safe and understood." They stood in comfortable silence, watching a small Earth patrol ship dock at the station. It looked exactly like the one that had rescued her, and Kira found herself thinking about all the adventures that ship might have, all the people it might help. "Captain," she said finally, "may I ask you something?" "Of course." "When you found me in that escape pod, what did you think would happen? Did you believe you would save me and return to your normal patrol duties?" Jiho considered the question. "Honestly, I just thought about getting you medical attention. I didn't think past that moment. But saving me led to fighting the raiders. Fighting the raiders led to discovering their network. That led to the biggest space battle in recent history." Kira turned to look at him. "One small act of kindness changed everything." "I guess it did. My people always planned everything carefully. We thought about consequences, about risks, about the logical outcomes of our actions. That's why we never fought back when the raiders came. Fighting seemed too dangerous, too unpredictable." Jiho waited for her to continue. "But you don't think that way, do you? You just see someone who needs help and you help them. You don't calculate whether it's worth it or what might happen next." "Sometimes that gets us into trouble," Jiho admitted with a small smile. "And sometimes it saves thousands of lives." Betiti. Announcement came over the station's communication system. Refugee Transport Harmony, now docking at Bay 7. Kira's ride to her new life had arrived. Jiho picked up her small bag of belongings, mostly gifts from the crew and some Theraki artifacts she had managed to save. "Your people will be lucky to have you," he said. "You've become quite a leader." These past few weeks, Kira took the bag but didn't move toward the door. "Captain, I have a different question now." "What's that?" "Does your crew have room for one more member?" Jiho stared at her in surprise. "You want to stay, but your people, your new colony—" "My people will build something beautiful and safe," Kira said. "But they will build it by avoiding risks, by staying hidden, by being careful above all else. That's not who I am anymore." She gestured toward the window where more ships were arriving. Traders, explorers, patrol vessels like Jiho's. "I want to be out there, helping people who need it. I want to find more escape pods floating in asteroid fields. I want to stop more raiders before they can hurt innocent people." She looked directly at Jiho. "I want to be part of a crew that chooses to do what's right, even when it's dangerous." "It won't be easy," Jiho warned. "Space is dangerous, and our missions will be exactly what I want to do with my life. For yourself first." Her own people had been destroyed because they were too trusting, too willing to help others. But here were 4 humans, facing death themselves, still using their own body heat to keep her alive. They were risking hypothermia to save someone from another world. Hours passed in the cold darkness, with the crew taking turns keeping Kira warm while trying to restore basic ship functions. The raiders hadn't moved closer, content to let the humans suffer in their damaged vessel. They probably thought it was amusing to watch their prey slowly freeze to death. During Minho's shift holding Kira, she suddenly spoke up. "I know things about them." "What kind of things?" Jiho asked from his position working on a damaged control panel. Kira looked around at all 4 humans who had risked everything for her. Something had changed in her golden eyes. The fear was still there, but now there was determination too. Secret things, places they hide, routes they travel, numbers of ships. She paused, gathering courage. "I was not just passenger on my escape ship. I was carrying information." Nari stopped what she was doing and turned to look at Kira. "What kind of information?" "My people. Before our world fell, we learned about the raiders. We discovered their network, their bases, their plans. I was supposed to bring this knowledge to other worlds, to warn them." Kira's voice grew stronger. "But when my ship was destroyed, I thought the information died with me." Jiho moved closer. "You memorized it all?" "My people have perfect memory for important things. Every base location, every trade route, every ship count. I carry it all in." "My mind." She looked at each of them. "But I was afraid to tell anyone." "Information is dangerous. It makes you a target." "You're already a target," Hyun pointed out gently. "They've been hunting you for weeks." Kira nodded slowly. "Yes, and now they hunt you too, because you protected me." She took a deep breath. "I cannot let more good people die because of my fear. You have shown me what courage looks like." She activated the holographic display with shaking hands and began creating a star map. Points of light appeared, connected by glowing lines. As she worked, the humans realized they were looking at something incredible. A complete map of the raider network across 3 star systems. "This base here," Kira pointed to a large red dot, "is where they keep stolen ships and captured people before selling them. Over 2,000 slaves are held there. And this route," she indicated a glowing line, "they use it every month to transport new captives. Always the same schedule, always the same number of ships." Jiho stared at the map in amazement. "This is intelligence that could shut down their entire operation." "If someone was brave enough to use it," Kira said quietly. Nari had managed to restore long-range communications during the conversation. "Captain, I'm picking up Earth patrol signals. There are at least 6 ships within 2 hours of our position. And I'm detecting non-Earth vessels too," Minho added, studying his scanner. "Looks like some of the species the raiders have attacked are working together now." An idea was forming in Jiho's mind. "Kira, if we could get this information to all the ships in the area, could we coordinate an attack?" "The main base is heavily defended," she warned, "but if you could attack multiple targets at once, divide their forces, She studied her own map. Yes, it might work. Within an hour, the bridge of their damaged ship had become a command center for something much bigger than anyone had imagined. Using Kira's intelligence, they contacted every Allied ship in the region. Earth patrol vessels, merchant ships with defensive weapons, even some alien traders who had been victims of the raiders. This is bigger than just rescuing one ship. Jiho told the growing fleet over the communication system. We have a chance to end this threat permanently. Captain Yuki of the patrol ship Dawn responded first. We're in. These slavers have been terrorizing trade routes for too long. An alien captain with a translated voice added, My people lost 3 ships to these raiders last month. We seek justice. One by one, ships confirmed their participation. What had started as a desperate fight for survival was becoming something much larger, a coordinated strike against an entire criminal network. Kira watched in wonder as species that had never worked together before united around a single purpose: stopping those who preyed on the innocent. The Allied fleet gathered in the shadow of a gas giant, hidden from the raiders' sensors. 12 ships of different designs and origins floated together in the darkness. Earth patrol vessels, alien merchant ships fitted with weapons, and even a few former raider ships that had been captured and converted by their victims. Jiho's damaged ship had been patched up enough to fly, but barely. The heating system was still broken, so Kira had to wear 3 layers of thermal clothing and stay close to portable heaters. She insisted on being part of the attack despite the danger. The main base is built inside a hollowed-out asteroid, she explained to the fleet commanders during their final briefing. They think it makes them safe, but it also traps them. There are only 3 ways in or out. Captain Yuki's voice came through the communication system. What about their defenses? Kira highlighted parts of her holographic map. Automated weapons platforms here, here, and here, but they have a weakness. The control center is in the middle of the base, and if someone could get inside and shut it down— Too dangerous, Jiho said immediately. We're not sending anyone into that maze. I can do it, Kira said quietly. I know their computer systems. My people studied them before. Our world fell. Give me a small team and I can disable their defenses from the inside. The other captains protested over the radio. She was too valuable, too fragile, too important to risk, but Kira had made up her mind. How many people are trapped in that base? She asked. How many will die if we fail because their weapons are too strong? The number was in her intelligence reports. Over 2,000 captured beings from dozens of different worlds, waiting to be sold into slavery. The fleet's weapons might not be enough to break through the base's shields before the raiders could kill their prisoners. I have to try, Kira said. These people showed me. Why? Because the alternative is worse. If we stop helping people because some of them might be bad, then we become cold and suspicious. We lose part of what makes us human. The alarm started screaming at 0300 hours, jolting everyone from sleep. Jiho rushed to the bridge in his pajamas to find Nari already at her station, her face pale in the red emergency lights. 3 ships approaching fast, she reported. They're not responding to our identification requests. What kind of ships? Jiho asked, pulling on his uniform jacket. Heavy cruisers, military-grade weapons. Sir, they're definitely not patrol vessels. Through the view screen, Jiho could see 3 dark shapes moving toward them, like sharks sensing blood. They were sleek and menacing, built for one purpose: violence. His small patrol ship looked like a toy compared to them. Minho and Hyun arrived on the bridge, with Kira close behind them. The moment she saw the approaching ships, her golden eyes went wide with terror. Red ships, she whispered. The ones who destroyed my world. The communication system crackled to life. A harsh voice spoke in heavily accented English. Human vessel, you have something that belongs to us. Prepare to be boarded. Jiho activated the response channel. This is Captain Jiho of the Earth Patrol ship Harmony. You are in neutral space and state your business. Rough laughter came through the speakers. Our business is the blue skin you picked up. She's valuable cargo, human. Hand her over, and we might let you live. Kira grabbed Jiho's arm, her fingers trembling. They want to sell me, she said quietly. My people. They take us to slave markets in the outer systems. I was supposed to be sold before I escaped. The reality hit Jiho like a punch to the stomach. These weren't just raiders who had destroyed Kira's world for resources. They were slavers who hunted down survivors to make profit from their suffering. The girl is under our protection, Jiho responded firmly. Find something else to hunt. More laughter from the raiders. Protection? You're one small patrol ship against 3 battle cruisers. Be smart, human. We've tracked her for weeks. We're not leaving without our property. She's not property, Jiho said, his voice getting harder. She's a refugee, and we don't hand over refugees to slavers. The lead raider's tone turned cold. Then you die with her. You have 10 minutes to reconsider. The communication cut off, leaving the bridge in tense silence. Everyone looked at Jiho, waiting for orders. His crew had families back on Earth. They had signed up to patrol empty space routes, not to fight battles against overwhelming odds. Captain, Nari said carefully, we can't fight 3 heavy cruisers. They'll destroy us in minutes. Our weapons are designed for pirates and smugglers, Hyun added. Not military vessels. Kira stepped forward, tears streaming down her blue cheeks. Give me to them, she said. I will not let you die for me. You have been kind, but this is not your fight. Jiho looked at this small, brave alien, who was willing to sacrifice herself to save the humans who had rescued her. Everything she had learned about human nature was being tested right now. Would they abandon her when things got dangerous? Would their kindness disappear when it became costly? Minho, send a distress signal to any Earthships in the area, Jiho ordered. Nari, charge all weapons and raise shields. Hyun, plot an evasive course through the asteroid field. Sir? Nari asked uncertainly. Jiho turned to face his crew, his decision made. We're not handing anyone over to slavers. Not today, not ever. If we have to fight, we fight. Kira stared at him in amazement. But you will die. Maybe, Jiho said. But some things are worth dying for. And protecting people from slavers is definitely one of them. The first explosion rocked the ship so hard that everyone was thrown to the floor. Sparks flew from control panels as the lights flickered on and off. The raiders had opened fire without warning, their massive weapons tearing into the small patrol. Ship's hull, shields down to 60%, Nari shouted over the noise of alarms and crackling electricity. Jiho pulled himself back into his captain's chair. Return fire, all weapons! Their small laser cannons fired back, but the beams looked like flashlight rays against the massive raider ships. It was like throwing rocks at tanks. Another blast hit them, and this time the ship shuddered so violently that Kira was knocked unconscious when her head hit the wall. Hull breach on deck 3, Hyun reported. Emergency systems are sealing. But we're losing atmosphere fast. The third explosion was the worst. It hit the ship's main power core, sending a shockwave through every system. The lights went out completely, leaving them in darkness except for the emergency red glow. But worse than the darkness was what came next. Silence, the constant humming of the ship's life support systems had stopped. Power's out, Minho said, his voice tight with worry. Backup generators are online, but they're only running essential systems. What about heat? Jiho asked. Heating system is offline. Temperature will start dropping in about 20 minutes. They all looked at Kira, who was just waking up from being knocked out. She didn't understand the technical problems, but when her breath started coming out in small white clouds, she knew what was happening. Cold, she whispered, already starting to shiver. The raiders had stopped firing, probably thinking the human ship was finished. But Jiho knew they were just playing. With them now like cats with a mouse, they would board soon and take what they wanted. How long until we can restore heat? He asked. Hyun checked his instruments by flashlight. The main heating unit is completely destroyed. Even if we had full power, it would take hours to repair. Kira was shivering harder now, curled up in the corner of the bridge. The temperature was dropping fast in the vacuum of space. Without heat, she would die long before the raiders decided to board their ship. Emergency blankets, Nari suggested. Won't be enough, Jiho said. She needs body heat, like before. Without hesitation, he left his captain's chair and sat down next to Kira. She was already so cold that touching her made him gasp, but he put his arms around her anyway. Sir, you need to stay at your post, Minho protested. The ship's not going. Anywhere, Jiho replied, and she'll die if we don't keep her warm. But as the temperature continued to drop, It became clear that one person wasn't enough. Jiho was getting too cold to be effective, and Kira was still shivering violently. "My turn," Nari said, gently pulling Jiho away and taking his place holding Kira. They created a rotation system right there on the bridge. Every 30 minutes someone new would take over warming duty, while the others tried to fix the ship and monitor the raiders. It was awkward and uncomfortable, but it worked. "Why?" Kira asked during Hyun's shift, her voice weak from cold and confusion. "Your ship is dying, enemies surround you. Why waste energy on me?" Hyun adjusted his position to share more warmth with her. "Because that's what humans do. We take care of each other. I am not human. Doesn't matter." Tears started flowing down. Kira's blue cheeks, but not from the cold this time. She had spent her whole life believing that survival meant looking out. "Captain, what are you doing?" Nari asked. "Body heat," Jiho explained simply. "It's the fastest way to warm someone up." He carefully positioned himself next to the alien girl, making sure not to hurt her, and gently put his arms around her. His body warmth immediately started transferring to her through the jacket. It was like holding a block of ice, but he didn't move away. The crew watched in amazement as slowly, very slowly, some color started returning to the girl's blue skin. Her breathing became a little stronger. After an hour, she stopped shivering. So violently. "I think it's working," Nari whispered. They took turns throughout the night. When Jiho got too cold, Minho took his place. Then Hyun. Even Nari, despite being the smallest crew member, insisted on taking a shift. They created a schedule, making sure the alien girl always had someone's warmth keeping her alive. It wasn't comfortable. The medical bay was now hot enough to make them sweat, but they couldn't risk lowering the temperature. They rotated every 2 hours, and whoever wasn't on warming duty brought food and water to the others. "Why are we doing this?" Hyun asked during his third shift. "We don't even know what she is or where she came from." Jiho, who was resting in the corner, looked at his crew member holding the small alien girl. "Because she needed help, and we were there. But she's not human." "So?" That simple word hung in the air. "So?" Did it matter that she looked different? Did it matter that she came from some unknown world? She was small, scared, and dying. That was enough. As dawn approached in their artificial ship time, something wonderful happened. The alien girl's eyes opened, and this time they stayed open. She looked around the warm room with confusion, then up at Hyun, who was currently keeping her warm. She said something in a musical language none of them understood, but her tone was clear. She was saying thank you. When the alien girl fully woke up, the first thing she did was panic. Her golden eyes went wide with terror as she saw 4 strange beings standing around her. She tried to scramble away, but she was still too weak to move properly. Small sounds escaped her throat that might have been words or might have been cries for help. Jiho slowly raised his hands, palms open, the universal gesture of peace. "It's okay," he said softly, even though he knew she couldn't understand him. "We're not going to hurt you." The girl pressed herself against the far corner of the medical table, watching them with the look of a trapped animal. Her breathing was fast and shallow, and Jiho worried she might make herself sick again from fear. Nari had an idea. She went to the food dispenser and came back with a cup of warm water and a piece of bread. Moving very slowly, she placed them on the table near the alien girl, then stepped back. The girl stared at the food for a long moment, then carefully reached for the water. Her hands were shaking, but she managed to take a small sip. The warm liquid seemed to calm her down a little. She looked at each of the humans in turn, as if trying to figure out what they wanted from her. When she realized they were just standing there waiting, not trying to grab her or hurt her, some of the fear left her eyes. "My name is Jiho," the captain said, pointing to himself. "Jiho." The girl tilted her head, studying his face. Then she pointed to herself and made a sound that was like a soft melody. "Kira." "Kira?" Jiho tried to repeat it. She nodded and almost smiled. "Kira." It took hours, but slowly they started to communicate. Kira was smart and caught on quickly to their simple gestures. She pointed to things, and they told her the human words. She repeated their names until she could say them clearly. The real Breakthrough came when Minho had the idea to use the ship's holographic display. He created simple pictures in the air with light, a ship, stars, people. Kira's eyes lit up with understanding. She took control of the display and began showing them her story. First, she created the image of a beautiful blue world with tall, crystal cities, her home planet. Then she showed them her people, beings like herself with pale blue skin and golden eyes, living peacefully among the crystal spires. But then her images turned dark. Red ships appeared in the sky above her world, explosions, buildings falling, people running in fear. Her small hands shook as she showed them the destruction of everything she had ever known. She created an image of herself in a small ship, fleeing through space. Then more red ships chasing her. Her ship being hit, exploding, her escape pod tumbling through the asteroid field. When she was done, tears were streaming down her blue cheeks. The humans stood in stunned silence, finally understanding what she had been through. But then Kira did something that surprised them all. She pointed to each of them, then to herself, then made a gesture that clearly meant, "Why?" Her expression was genuinely confused. She kept repeating the gesture, pointing to them, to herself, to the warm room they had created for her. Jiho finally understood what she was asking. She wants to know why we helped her. Kira nodded eagerly, her golden eyes full of curiosity and amazement. She had never encountered beings who would risk themselves for a complete stranger from another world. In her experience, creatures helped their own kind and ignored everyone else. The concept of helping someone just because they needed help was completely foreign to her. How do you explain human compassion to someone who has never seen it before? Over the next few days, Kira grew stronger and more comfortable around the crew. She spent hours using the holographic display to tell them about her people, the Theraki. Her stories painted a picture of a civilization that valued peace above everything else. The Theraki had never known war. Their crystal cities were built for beauty, not defense. They shared resources freely and helped each other without expecting anything in return. It sounded like paradise to the human crew, but that made us weak, Kira explained through a mix of words and gestures she had learned. She showed them images of her people when the red ships first appeared. The Theraki had tried to welcome the invaders, offering them food and shelter. They thought the strangers were just travelers in need of help. Instead, the invaders had laughed at their kindness and began taking everything. The Theraki didn't even have weapons to defend themselves. Within weeks, their beautiful world was stripped bare, and her people were scattered across the galaxy as refugees or slaves. "Your people sound wonderful," Nari said gently. Their kindness wasn't weakness. The invaders were wrong to hurt them. But Kira shook her head. "Kindness is dangerous. Helping strangers brings trouble. My people learned this too late." She looked at each of the humans with those curious golden eyes. "So why do you help me? I am stranger. I bring danger to your ship. Smart beings would leave me to die." The crew exchanged glances. "How do you explain something that feels as natural as breathing?" Minho spoke first. "When I was 7 years old, I got lost in a big city on Earth. I was scared and crying on a street corner. A woman I had never seen before stopped her car, bought me food, and helped me find my parents. She spent her whole day looking for them." Kira listened intently as he continued. "I asked her why she helped me. She said, 'Because you needed help, and I could give it. That's all. No other reason.'" "But what did she gain?" Kira asked, genuinely puzzled. "Nothing," Minho replied. "She gained nothing except knowing she helped a scared child." Hyun nodded and added his own story. "My grandmother used to cook extra food every night. When I asked her why, she said it was in case a hungry person knocked on our door. Most nights, no one came, but sometimes they did. Strangers, travelers, people down on their luck. She would invite them in and feed them." "Did they pay her?" Kira asked. "Never, and she never asked them to. She said helping others made her heart feel full." Kira's expression showed she was trying hard to understand something completely alien to her experience. "But helping strangers uses your resources. It puts your own family at risk. In space, this thinking leads to death." Jiho sat down across from her. "Maybe, but we've found that helping others often comes back to help us too. Not always directly, but somehow. The woman who helped Minho probably forgot about him the next day, but her kindness inspired him to become the kind of person who helps others. And my grandmother's generosity taught me that we're all connected, Yun added. When I help someone, I'm helping part of a bigger family that includes everyone. Kira was quiet for a long time, processing what she had heard. Finally, she asked, "What if the person you help is evil? What if they use your kindness to hurt you?" "Sometimes that happens," Jiho admitted. "Humans have been betrayed and hurt by people they tried to help, but we keep helping anyway." Captain Jiho was having another boring day patrolling the outer rim when his communication system started beeping. The sound was weak and broken, like an old radio trying to find a station. Most captains would ignore it. Space was full of dead, signals from old crashes and forgotten battles. But Jiho was different. He had joined the space patrol because he wanted to help people, not just fly around empty space all day. His crew thought he was too soft for this job. Maybe they were right. "Sir, that signal is coming from the Kepler asteroid field," said Minho, his navigator. "Nothing should be alive out there, it's just rocks and ice." Jiho stared at the blinking light on his screen. Command had told them to stick to their patrol route. No detours, no heroics. Just fly the pattern and report back. But something about this signal felt different. It wasn't the usual automated distress beacon from a cargo ship. This one sounded desperate. "Change course," Jiho ordered. "Captain, we're not supposed to leave our route," Nari warned from her position at the weapons console. "If Command finds out, let me worry about Command," Jiho said. He had been written up twice already this year for breaking protocol. One more incident might end his career, but he couldn't ignore the possibility that someone needed help. The asteroid field was a nightmare to navigate. Huge rocks tumbled through, space like deadly bowling balls. Their ship's sensors worked overtime to avoid collision. The signal grew stronger as they pushed deeper into the field. "There!" Hyun pointed at his scanner. "Something metallic, about 2 kilometers ahead." Through the view screen, they saw it floating between two massive asteroids. An escape pod, but not like any human design they knew. It was sleek and curved, made from some kind of silver metal, but it was also clearly damaged. Huge cracks ran along its sides, and one end was completely smashed. "Life signs?" Jiho asked. Hyun checked his instruments. "Barely. Whatever's inside is dying fast." They used their ship's mechanical arms to carefully pull the pod aboard. The airlock hissed as it pressurized. When the doors opened, cold air rushed out that made them all shiver. Inside the pod was the strangest thing any of them had ever seen. A small figure curled up in the corner, no bigger than a human child. But this wasn't human. Her skin was pale, blue almost white, and seemed to glow faintly in the dim light. She had long silver hair that looked like moonbeams, and her face was delicate and angular. She wasn't moving. "Is she dead?" Nari whispered. Jiho knelt down and carefully touched the alien's neck. Her skin was ice cold, colder than anything he had ever felt. But there was a pulse, weak and slow. "She's freezing to death," he said. "Our normal ship temperature is too cold for her." The alien girl's eyes fluttered open for just a moment. They were large and golden, filled with fear and pain. She tried to say something, but only a small breath came out. Then her eyes closed. "Again, get her to the medical bay now," Jiho ordered. As they carefully lifted her, Jiho noticed something that made his heart ache. She was so small and fragile, like an injured bird. Whatever had happened to her ship, she had been alone and scared when it was destroyed. No one should die alone in the cold darkness of space. Captain Jiho was having another boring day patrolling the outer rim when his communication system started beeping. The sound was weak and broken, like an old radio trying to find a station. Most captains would ignore it. Space was full of dead signals from old crashes and forgotten battles, but Jiho was different. He had joined the space patrol because he wanted to help people, not just fly around empty space all day. His crew thought he was too soft for this job. Maybe they were right. "Sir, that signal is coming from the Kepler asteroid field," said Minho, his navigator. "Nothing should be alive out there, it's just rocks and ice." Jiho stared at the blinking light on his screen. Command had told them to stick to their patrol route. No detours, no heroics. Just fly the pattern and report back. But something about this signal felt different. It wasn't the usual automated distress beacon from a cargo ship. This one sounded desperate. "Change course," Jiho ordered. "Captain, we're not supposed to leave our route," Nari warned from her position at the weapons console. "If Command finds out, let me worry about Command," Jiho said. He had been written up twice already this year for breaking protocol. One more incident might end his career, but he couldn't ignore the possibility that someone needed help. The asteroid field was a nightmare to navigate. Huge rocks tumbled through, space like deadly bowling balls. Their ship's sensors worked overtime to avoid collision. The signal grew stronger as they pushed deeper into the field. "There!" Hyun pointed at his scanner. "Something metallic, about 2 kilometers ahead." Through the view screen they saw it floating between 2 massive asteroids. An escape pod, but not like any human design they knew. It was sleek and curved, made from some kind of silver metal, but it was also clearly damaged. Huge cracks ran along its sides, and one end was completely smashed. "Life signs?" Jiho asked. Hyun checked his instruments. "Barely. Whatever's inside is dying fast." They used their ship's mechanical arms to carefully pull the pod aboard. The airlock hissed as it pressurized. When the doors opened, cold air rushed out that made them all shiver. Inside the pod was the strangest thing any of them had ever seen. A small figure curled up in the corner, no bigger than a human child. But this wasn't human. Her skin was pale, blue almost white, and seemed to glow faintly in the dim light. She had long silver hair that looked like moonbeams, and her face was delicate and angular. She wasn't moving. "Is she dead?" Nari whispered. Jiho knelt down and carefully touched the alien's neck. Her skin was ice cold, colder than anything he had ever felt. But there was a pulse, weak and slow. "She's freezing to death," he said. "Our normal ship temperature is too cold for her." The alien girl's eyes fluttered open for just a moment. They were large and golden, filled with fear and pain. She tried to say something, but only a small breath came out. Then her eyes closed. "Again, get her to the medical bay now," Jiho ordered. As they carefully lifted her, Jiho noticed something that made his heart ache. She was so small and fragile, like an injured bird. Whatever had happened to her ship, she had been alone and scared when it was destroyed. No one should die alone in the cold darkness of space. The medical bay felt like a freezer when they carried the alien girl inside. Even with the ship's normal heating, her blue skin was turning almost white. Jiho could see his own breath in the cold air around her. "The temperature readings don't make sense," Nari said, frantically working at the medical computer. "Her body temperature is dropping so fast that our sensors think she's already dead." Jiho looked at the small figure lying on the medical table. She was barely breathing, and each breath was getting weaker. Her golden eyes had closed again, and she looked so peaceful that it scared him. People looked like that when they were giving up. "How hot can we make this room?" he asked. "The medical bay can go up to 40 degrees Celsius, Hyun replied, "but that might be dangerous for us." "Do it." While Nari worked on the temperature controls, Jiho did something that surprised even himself. He took off his thick patrol jacket and gently wrapped it around the alien girl. The jacket was still warm from his body heat, and he tucked it carefully around her small frame. "Sir, you'll get cold," Minho warned. "I'll be fine," Jiho said, though he was already starting to shiver. Human bodies were tough. They could handle being uncomfortable for a while. But this girl was dying, and his jacket might buy them precious time. The room started getting warmer, but not fast enough. The alien's breathing was still too shallow, and her skin remained that frightening pale color. Jiho made another decision that would have shocked his commanding officers. He climbed onto the medical table next to her.